Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bodied, a Cloud9 fan cast. I'm your host, Havokpus, as always. I'm joined with my co-host, Frozencreek.
Hello. It sounds like you've had some weather down there.
Yeah, there's so much snow.
Welcome to winter.
Yeah, see, I'm not used to this because being from Alabama, usually it's like we don't even need a lot of snow, but it's usually like it'll snow, like once or twice a year, and it'll be a very fall, amount of snow, but it'll just be like, okay, everything's shut down, and then by the afternoon it's all gone. Here,
Absolute chaos.
Absolute chaos here in Arkansas. It fucking lasted like a whole week, and just nothing. Everything's delayed. Nothing gets done. Just a tragedy.
Yeah. At least you guys didn't have a thing happen like Texas did.
Oh yeah, at least our
tragic.
Energy market is actually functional and not operated by a bunch of crazy people.
Well, it is, but it's just set up better.
Yeah, ours is at least mandated by the government that you have to do certain things.
Yeah, exactly. So, we did get hit by a snowstorm last week too, but it's currently 49 degrees in Michigan. So
yeah, here I think it's like 60 something.
What the hell?
It is here. It is, I believe. Yeah, it's 60 degrees here right now.
Jesus.
So we went from winter hellscape where it was in the ones or tens in terms of temperature to now it is 60 degrees, a nice and comfy 60 degrees.
Damn. If it was 60 degrees here, I'd be living on a cloud 9.
Well, we're all living on cloud 9 in this podcast. So let's
transition.
Let's get to it. We don't really have a lot of CSGO stuff to talk about since the team has not participated in anything since. But after our washout at the IEM Katowice stuff, it is reported that S-Attack is moving over to the opping role, which is going to be pretty interesting. And a lot of people are saying, like, why didn't he just stay as an opper in the first place? It's kind of weird that we had to go through the speed bump of Alex being the opper. I think maybe it could just be that like the team was just wanting to try something different. And especially with Zeppa being in the team and you're losing Woxic, who was your primary opper, you might as well. And maybe, S-Attack didn't want to like initially be an opper and do opping stuff. So, there's probably a lot of reasons for it. We don't have any information on it, but he's gonna be opping now, and Alex can do whatever he normally did.
Yeah, I feel like it makes sense because my hypothesis of being able to zoom in and call games was not correct actually.
Turns out it's very hard.
Yeah, and I think it'll be good for the team in general because Alex was missing some easy shots. I'm thinking of like one in specific against in their last game where he was like staring at a guy through a scope and just like didn't shoot at him. And I'm assuming that he was worried about something else at the time and that it's just going to be tough to
you have to keep track of a lot of stuff, I think, if you're going to be an IGL. And with the scope, your vision is just so cut off and you're basically looking at a circle. And he was kind of hit and miss. Like sometimes he did some really good shots where it's like, okay, that's really good, but then other times it's just he just not be very useful. Another point for the CSGO team that I want to make is I really hope that Floppy and Mezzy gain more consistency because they're really two of our key players when it comes to us actually winning or losing. And if Floppy isn't having a good day, the team looks a lot worse than when Floppy is at peak performance.
Yeah. I don't have a huge opinion about it.
Well, neither do I, but you better get your shit together.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the answer is going to be like bringing in an actual opera or trying to keep piecemealing it together, but I have a hard time figuring the math on spending in another
millions of dollars.
2 million over 3 years on another CS:GO guy.
Yeah, I mean, I have no notes for CS:GO anymore. It just seems that whatever we try doesn't seem to really work, or if it works, it's in the very short term. Then eventually we just fall apart, and then we have to end up doing some form of rebuild or having to slot in new players or something. So it just seems like I don't know what's going on in the scene anymore, but it just seems like there's just no consistency across the board of like which teams are good and which players are good anymore. It seems to change every week of like, oh, well, this team won this tournament, this team's doing really well, and then the next week it'll be like, oh yeah, Team Liquid just can't seem to win anymore. It's just like, well, what's going on there? Why are these like other teams struggling? It's just really weird. So I don't know. I have no notes anymore. I think that this it's just kind of stagnant, but we can move on to Valorant. There's not a whole lot to talk about either, but I just want to mention that the Valorant team does play tomorrow, February 25th, in what might be the final Challengers qualifier tournament. So it's kind of maybe a must-win for them. The blue team has looked better with slotting in Leaf and Zeta, but they have not been able to clutch out some important overtime games that would have put them over the hump into qualification.
Yeah, so this is for like the major like worldwide tournament.
Yeah, it's for the Challenger tournament. I think they're also doing maybe like a Masters tournament and some other tournament. I can't they're doing this format in a really weird way, and I can't keep up with it because they're having like so many qualifier tournaments and like lower tournaments or like paths to where you can get to the tournament. It's all really confusing.
Yeah,
but I think this is the easiest way is to just go through the Challengers qualifier, but they have to actually qualify first, which they've failed to do. And I think that there might be some trouble with maybe some players if I'm not sure what's going to happen to the team if like this is like the second big event in a row that you just failed to qualify for.
Yeah. Or so qualification starts today then?
Tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
Tomorrow being Thursday.
Yeah, tomorrow's Thursday. I will say I like this team a lot better than our previous iteration, with tens. I think that we actually have solid strategy. It looks like we actually operate somewhat strategically. We seem to have at least somewhat of a more deeper agent pool. Everyone seems to be rotating off of different agents, and it's not just you're going to play this one thing and you're going to play this one thing and then just hope it works out. There is sort of the thing of a clutch factor, and if we can really clutch out games that are must win, but we at least look better, I think. And I think that not having to babysit your one super important player who demands a lot of resources, it allows other players to flourish. Like Relics is very good, and I think when Tens left, it allowed him to do more. It allowed Mitch to do more. It seems like the team had more freedom to kind of do things because they weren't having to like, okay, well, we have to make sure Tens gets the op, and we have to make sure he can do things. So I like this team a lot more, and I really want them to do well just because it seems like they're running at a more sort of efficient, more operational, kind of level.
Yeah. I haven't had a chance to watch them, so
no, neither have I, Frozen, because
oh yeah, that's true.
None of these qualifier
stream.
matches are streamed. The last time we played in the second open qualifier, none of our matches were streamed. Even the Genji match where we went to overtime twice, and it was going to determine, I think, who moved on to the next round to maybe qualify. None of those matches were streamed, and it's it's one of my biggest issues with these big open qualifiers. It's where they're hosting this event, and you have one, maybe two Twitch channels that are streaming. And I understand you can't stream every match, but when it's like it's Cloud9 versus Genji, that's a big match draw. you would think you would want to have everyone watching that match, but then it's just not streamed. You know, instead it's like some little team getting the crap kicked out of them by like TSM or whatever. You know, I don't understand, you know, sort of the logic in how the TOs like choose like which games are streamed or not. You know, I don't know, but it seems kind of ridiculous that it's like you have a lot of really good matches, and then you're just choosing to like just handpick stream only a couple, and then you're missing out on so much more exciting content. I really don't like how, you know, the Valorant, you know, competitive scene has kind of handled these kind of events, because it's happened consistently where it's just you have the open qualifier, almost nothing gets streamed, and then you have to pray that your team gets to either a closed qualifier or the, you know, the play-in stage for an actual event if you want to see your team actually play.
Yeah, and you think that a Cloud9 game would be like one of the higher viewed live games, so especially against Gen.G, but I guess maybe they know more than I do because I don't know much.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
assuming they do know more than I do.
yeah, it's definitely frustrating though. Hopefully we will actually at least get to see one game streamed this weekend as we play, and hopefully can play a bunch of matches and actually qualify. But we'll just have to see. Hopefully the team can do well. I want them to succeed. I want them to do well. So here's
Yeah,
hoping.
me too.
But we can move on to League of Legends. We actually have a chunky bit of league content to talk about.
Yeah, starting
Um,
with our young boys.
yes, the amateur squad. They were playing in the Upsurge United Grand Prix, which sounds like a super dope name. We need more Grand Prix.
Yeah, we do.
I love saying the phrase Grand Prix. It makes me sound so like fancy. They beat Barrage 2-1 in like a reverse sweep style fashion, and then they lost to
Yeah.
Solified. Which is kind of weird because Solified has like a few actual like former LCS players just playing.
Yeah, Dokla, I believe Tuesday played in
Tuesday played
LCS.
very briefly. He was
Yeah, very
really heavily featured in
briefly.
the CLG Academy team previously before I think he didn't play with them anymore.
Apollo, who was, I believe, a starter in LCS for a bit.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was
And
the.
then Zay, so who's been to World Semis. I have no clue how he's playing Proving Grounds, to be honest.
It's definitely a weird style event because you have this really weird mix of like academy teams that I think didn't auto qualify for Proving Grounds, collegiate teams, and then you have other amateur teams kind of, you know, filling in the mix. It feels kind of unfair when you have player, you know, like this squad for instance, where it's like you literally have like at least 3 LCS, you know, former LCS players playing on your team, and you're going up against, you know, our academy squad that has like almost no stage experience. They have never played against this kind of talent before. You know, it just feels like very sort of unfair to, I think, like the collegiate, and maybe it's more for these other like, you know, amateur teams to just sort of have to go up against this kind of talent. I know that some amateur teams did end up beating academy teams, but I still feel that, you know, the competition feels so lopsided in terms of what you'd be facing, and this seems to be like a consistent thing happening in a lot of these more open, you know, amateur style tier 2 events that aren't hosted by Riot, where it's just anyone can kind of play, and if you're not on a team, you can just make a team, and then if you have a few LCS players, you can easily just beat whoever.
Yeah, and so it's kind of weird how how you qualified for this. It's to get into the Proving Grounds, which Cloud9 Academy has already qualified for, which we will get to. But the 7th and 8th Academy teams, which was TSM and CLG, got pushed down to the Grand Prix, and that's why they're in here. And they're in there with 2 universities, Marysville and Winthrop, plus some other like
There's like
non.
Zeus Gaming, No Org, Solified, which I think is maybe owned by like the Florida Mayhem, I think, like,
Or
because
which
their logo looks like
so
a palm tree.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't
I'm
know.
not
I'd have
sure.
to look.
Yeah, Noorg, and then the team that we beat, plus a few others. But Cloud9 made it to I guess the final 8. Cloud9 amateur. They didn't have much of a chance against Solified.
No, that was
But I thought
basically
they
just,
played well.
yeah. Like they tried really hard. They put in a good effort. I think that going against Solified, I think it's just it's just sort of asking to kind of be, you're kind of throwing them to the wolves and kind of just being like, well, you guys are probably gonna get beaten up, but good luck.
Yeah, so because of their loss to Solified yesterday, they actually play today in a best of 3 in the losers bracket against Winthrop University, who lost to Cody Sun and TSM Academy yesterday. So we'll play them at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today. If we lose, I believe we are just out. But if we win, then we play the winner of Solified and oh god, match 5 or 6 winners. So we'll play the winner of Solified versus TSM Academy. We'll play the loser of that game, I believe.
Whoever we
So we
play.
could end up playing fight again. But the final of that is March 3rd, so next Wednesday, I believe. So keep tuning in, because if they win today, they'll keep playing.
Yeah, hopefully they do well. They're a very scrappy team. I think they're definitely learning a lot. So hopefully they can pick up another win so they can get some more experience in this event. I think it'll be good for them. We can move on to the Academy team beating TL to secure first place in the Proving Grounds, because they did.
Yeah, going into the game, I thought it was an easy L because they kind of drafted a wonky comp, Scion, Galio, Gragas support, and it seemed like a BM comp, and they were down. They were down 3K at 15 minutes, and then they won. So I guess I was wrong.
Easy peasy, easy game. I actually didn't watch
Oh,
that match or watch much of it, so I can't really
it was
recall.
pretty
I
hype.
remember you saying that it was a really weird comp, but then we won.
Yeah, we won in like 28 or 29 minutes or something.
I'm looking. Yeah, well, it doesn't say what the draft was. Oh, it's good that they won and they got first place. I'm really glad that it seems that we're continuing, sort of the domination that Cloud9 Academy did last year. So securing first place is a really big thing, I think, for us, especially with like pretty much an entirely new squad of players. I think Westrice is showing that he's a really good coach in bringing up, sort of new players and kind of showing that, like, hey, you're really good. We can bring out this potential in you. King is, I think, probably the only mainstay of this group. And Darshan's, of course, an LCS vet, but we have a really good squad that's kind of pieced together, and I hope we can win Proving Grounds so we can just continue our domination of everyone else.
Yeah, so I believe that just gives us the first seed in Proving Grounds, or whatever that gives us. That's something that we'll look forward to once it's closer.
Yeah.
I just looked at the Proving Grounds qualification stuff, and then the top 4 teams from this Grand Prix are auto qualified to Proving Grounds also. So if Cloud9 wins today in the losers bracket, I believe they get an automatic bid into Proving Grounds also.
Oh, I want to see that amateur versus academy
Yeah, so
matchup. Give me that. Let me see it.
I believe that's how it's going to go, because there's 8 teams and we are in the losers bracket, and 2 teams will get kicked. I don't know, something like that.
It's a
If
weird
we
format.
get top 4, then we automatically go to Proving Grounds. If we don't qualify, there's one more tournament to get in. So keep an eye out on that. That Proving Grounds will start Late March, it seems like.
All right. Well, let's move on. Let's move on to the LCS. Because I don't have a lot of thoughts on Academy left.
Watch them because it's fun, but they
Yes,
won't
watch them.
play till proven
They're
grounds
good.
now.
So the LCS, I think the team actually had a rough week. We played CLG, Dignitas, and Team Liquid. The CLG match, we could start there. That was a really rough match to watch, and it kind of continues this trend that I've noticed of us just playing really sloppy, and in some cases almost throwing games that we kind of had a pretty secure foothold in.
Yeah, it was close. It just seemed like their comp almost kind of countered how we wanted to play at the Rek'Sai. And
Yeah, I can agree with that.
yeah, and I do also want to say that this was Proxa's first game on CLG, so we also didn't have like scouting tape on them either. So maybe that also added to it, but it was not a clean game.
No,
By any means.
CLG did look better with Broxa in. I think they at least looked more put together. I think our biggest issue, honestly, was just fighting in like these choke points. Every time we got into a fight, almost we were fighting in like these choke points in the jungle where they have just massive amounts of AOE. You know, Aatrox, his abilities are all AOE. Lilia's abilities are all AOE. Turtle's, feathers are AOE with the Feather Storm, and Rel is sort of an AOE. So they just have, they're wanting to get us into these checkpoints, but we just keep fighting there. I think Perks was kind of the unsung hero of that game, because when we were, kind of holding them or trying to fight them or get picks and trading, he was just pushing side lanes like a madman and getting like so much gold and so much experience that he, he was getting like a really big advantage, and also like keeping a lot of pressure on CLG still. Even though he didn't necessarily do much in team fights, because he got focused down pretty quickly. Like whenever we started a fight, it was like Perks is like this like super high damage champion, but he gets popped instantly. So like we lose our big super scaling mid laner like almost right off the bat.
Yeah, and his advantage over RJS was pretty massive, but he didn't team fight with it. Like you said, he was pushing sideways, but he was full build at like 20 or like 32 minutes or
Yeah.
something. And RJS had like two or three items.
Yeah, he only had like 2 items.
Which was
I
insane.
also wish that Perks really used the Realm Warp more to either try to make picks or to have the team rotate around the map better. Like he barely used his ultimate, which is kind of something that I've seen LCS players in the past use a lot for all sorts of plays. We didn't really use it for anything proactive or any sort of like smart pick play or to kind of shuffle minions to advance further or anything like that. He kind of used it maybe once or twice, but that was about it. That was just something that kind of disappointed me. Blabber did show that he is still pretty good on that Rek'Sai, and Rek'Sai is kind of starting to become looking like a pretty good pick, especially when all the other junglers are banned.
Yeah, I think he's made it look better than what it actually is. But I'm looking at damage dealt right now, and he actually did. He only did more damage than the supports and Broxa. So that is a bit disappointing. Fudge
Well,
played. Fudge played okay.
To be fair, I think Blabber. I think Blabber kind of plays Rek'Sai maybe a little wrong in that he builds like sort of this more squishy, like I'm gonna one shot the carry kind of build. but he still jumps in first. Like he's the initiator for the fights because you can do like the knock up and everything. So he's kind of the initiator, even though he wouldn't survive very long. But so he's always goes in first when it should really be sort of like Gragas or the support or someone kind of like making the first move to ensure that you have it engaged so you can then get the carry. But Blabber, he goes deep a lot, so he sometimes that adds for a lot of downtime or him having to run away because like he's only has like a third of his health left.
Oh yeah, and while Turtle and Finn played out of their minds that game too.
Yeah, they did play really good.
I will say that I'm saying it a little bit early, but since Cloud9 got perks, I feel like every game we play, outside of maybe one or two, like we're getting every team's best shot. So like that team Liquid game was by far their best game to split. Yeah, CLG looked really good against us, all things considered. Evil Geniuses has only showed up to like half their games, and only been like really good once against us. So I think that is a good thing.
Yeah.
But the one thing
I think so.
I'll save it for after Team Liquid, but the Dig game was pretty fun to watch, I guess.
Yeah, we actually just crushed them. Perks is on Tristana. He looks really good on it, and he's able to just do Tristana things, which is do a bunch of damage and also just destroy turrets really, really easily.
I think the most hype part about that game is Saligo stealing Baron.
Yeah, that was really
on a spellbook Twisted Fate.
Yeah, it was funny, but also kind of scary in that I was just like, oh no, not again.
I mean, it was over at that point pretty much. So
no,
like,
yeah,
it didn't
true.
matter, but it seemed at everyone had a laugh about it too.
Yeah, I think that would be maybe just, I don't know. To me, it was just another kind of little sloppy area where it's like, guys, you're this far up ahead. How do you miss smite? But we did.
But to be fair, it is a Twisted Fate.
No, that's true.
Warrior being in a smite, shit happens.
No, yeah, that's true.
But
I think other than that, we did just dominate. We did dominate a team that was like trending upward to be looking like a really strong contender.
They're tied for second right now with TSM and 100 Thieves.
Yeah. They're looking really good, and Dardek's been showing that he's been a really capable jungler, and he looks like him and Afram are really clicking with the other members of the team. So
I do want to say that I feel like that this was Blabber's first good game on
Ilya.
Yeah.
It kind of was.
Because it's not really his type of champion. Like it is in a way, but like it's a squishy mage that has to like dive in, as opposed to like a Rek'Sai or a Olaf who has some like inherent tankiness and like in immediate CC. Like Lily is a different type of jungler to those two, and I'm glad, or I'm hoping that's him turning the corner on her, because I like to watch her. He's cool.
Yeah, she's really fun. She's really fun. And I find her kind of interesting. Because she's more of like this weird, I want to fight, but also I do damage over time type characters. So she's really fun. I hope that Blabber can get some more consistency with her, so we can actually like use her, because she's a really good jungler. And I hope we can make that actually happen, because Blabber, if he gets the hang of her more, he can be insane on her.
Yeah, in like a super flex jungle pool kind of thing.
Yeah. We can move on to the Team Liquid match. I think that's going to be
Yeah.
a lot of discussion, mostly just because, and this is just my opinion, but we looked so bad this game, and not even in just we just lost a lot of fights. It looked like we didn't know where the map on the game was, and we just forgot that it existed, and we were paying attention to it because there were so many times where we were just chasing kills, and we just didn't consider like, hey, well, where's everyone else on the map? You know, what's going on? They just go, and it's like, oh, we're dead, or we don't tactfully retreat. You know, that play in the bot lane where everyone was really low, we successfully disengaged. Like, they were maybe going to take the tower, but we had successfully disengaged. You know, we could have not given them that much gold over. You know, but then I don't know who it was, but someone must have been like, no, go back in, we can get them, and then we lose like 4 people. You know, that's a problem that we have, and I think it's because we just have, and I've been harping on this for a while, and I'll continue to do so. But it's it's because we just look for fights, and then we just go for the fight and not considering like what could be traded, or what's going to be lost if we lose the fight, or anything like that, or looked at other options besides just winning fights to get gold in map position. We just take the fight. So if we see a fight, it doesn't matter how risky it is, we'll just go fight, and then we lose, and then stuff like this happens for this game.
Yeah, my main thing with that fight that you're talking about, the 5 minute fight, was that we probably just should have gave up the gold and turrets, because our comp was like a level 6 press R and go comp with the Skarner, Gragas, and Ashe. And at the start of that fight, Fudge was level 5. He TP'd in with no mana.
Mm-hmm.
Perks backed with no TP. Skarner was level 5, and Ashe was level 4. And we didn't have a very good chance to win that fight anyway. And if we just gave up the 480 golds off 3 plates and 2 waves of farm, like we would have been in a better spot going into dragon fights than what we were after we lost that fight. But I'm not upset with it because I think overall we team fought really well that game, but we just didn't have an answer to their team comp really.
I mean, I think that we just needed to play better with decision making. Like there was another play, I think, after the bot lane fight where I think it was Jensen had ran into our jungle because he wanted to ward and he was trying to escape, and we sent 3 chasing after him, and we ended up, I think, maybe losing 1 or 2 of our own players just to try to kill him. And it was because we weren't paying attention to where other people were. Or we had vision on them, but we decided to go anyway. I think that maybe the biggest pain point, at least for me, is that this is, I don't know how many times in a row C9 consistently will disrespect what Tahm Kench can actively do, because it seems just to be a thing that happens over and over where Tahm Kench he'll just ult in out of nowhere, and we'll be like, what? How'd the Tahm Kench get in here? And then we'll die, or we'll have a bad fight. And it's like, well, Tahm Kench can do that. He can use the Abyssal Voyage to go places and sneak up behind you. You're not, do you not consider that a possibility at all? Like when you're doing stuff like, I don't know. I don't know what it is like for, I know for me, sometimes I could forget that he can do that and I don't consider it, but I'm not a good player versus someone who is a pro level player and they're getting paid a lot of money. If they're, and this isn't even like this team, this is just Cloud9 specifically throughout the years, we just disrespect what Tahm Kench can do, and it has bit us in the butt before. And I'm kind of amazed that this is still like a problem even now, that we're just forgetting that Abyssal Voyage can sneak people up behind you and do stuff like this.
Yeah, I think it would have been easier to just ban Tom Kench, and that was kind of disappointing. But I thought that once we got post 20 minutes, we played around him well. Like, he had QSS, but he can only save one person, and we had Ash Arrow, Gragas Cask, Thresh Hook, and the Skarner ult. So like, and there was the fight that led to our Baron demise that was really big. I'm actually looking at pick and ban right now, and we banned Nautilus as opposed to Tom Kench. So that was kind of
Yeah, Tom Kench,
unfortunate.
I think at the pro level, especially with like Core JJ, who I think his best champions are like Thresh, Blitzcrank, and Tom Kench. Uh, you know, they can be so useful at just keeping other players alive. Vulcan showed that he's also really good at Tom Kench. I'm not sure why we're not putting more of a priority on him getting Tom Kench, since he is a really good Tom Kench player, and Tom Kench is a very strong support right now. But we chose Thresh to take it away from Core JJ. I don't know if Vulcan is really that good with hook champions. It seems like he's really struggled lately, just with anyone that has sort of a hook. He seems to just kind of struggle, because it's Thresh, he had a bad game on. Blitzcrank, he had a bad game on. Nautilus, he's had bad games on. It seems to just be that he really struggles with playing around the team with those kind of champions, it seems.
I will say that I think that we proved that we might be the best team fighting LCS team. Like, overall, I think what really killed us was that first fight, and we like lost all of our tempos. So Team Liquid could get 3 quick drags.
Yeah.
And I think that's what killed us more than in anything else. It was that after we lost that fight, we had to spend the next 25 minutes trying to get tempo back. But I really do think that for the most part, for being down 6K at 25 minutes, that we played those fights better than any other LCS team could have.
Yeah, I
And we
agree that
probably should have, and we probably should have had Baron also.
Yeah, I agree. We are really good at fighting. I think that with how we play, if we are able to get a good 5v5 kind of team comp, we usually end up doing pretty well, because we are that's just that's how we practice and that's how we play. So yeah, I think it is really good. I think we need to work on fighting better in the early game, because I think that's where it really messes us up. Because if we, and this happened last year, if we would opt in for fights maybe a bit too early, and we would lose the fights because we're not at a safe point to do so yet, and it kind of costs us. So we're, that's definitely something that we kind of have to maybe look into. But I think that if we can get past a certain point from the early game, we can definitely out team fight almost anybody.
Yeah, and I the point I wanted to make earlier about Fudge was, I think his team fighting is actually like really, really, really good on Grot, I guess. But I think he's falling a little too far behind in lanes sometimes. Like, Alfari at roughly 10 minutes was up 16 farm and 2 kills because he was farming and going around with the map better. And that wasn't like just that game, but he kept his farm up all game. But I'm I'm not sure if it's like lane stay and he's getting out lane maneuvered like wave wise, or if he's missing farm just blatantly and missing it. But I think he needs to get a little bit better there. And if he can do that, then we're going we're going to be a great team.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see just what's going to happen if we give him something that's not Gragas, because I think for the past few weeks he's just been playing Gragas top lane.
He's just a drunk fat guy bot.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see.
So
Like,
am I.
I know he's played Camille and he's played Jax, but I want to see him maybe expand his pool maybe a little bit more. I want to see how he can handle. We don't. Renekton is still. It seems to be a really good pick, but we're not prioritizing it for Fudge. We're always we're prioritizing it. We prioritize jungle and mid. It seems a lot, which makes sense because that may be our strongest roles. But I'd like to see Fudge on other things. Like put him on Aatrox, put him on Renekton. Put him on other champions and see how he fares with maybe give him a winning matchup for once instead of him having to play like a losing matchup or having to just go even and play weak side. It's I just want to see what he can fully do, and it seems like we're giving him like, okay, here's the safe option. You don't have to worry about anything. Just be there for the team fights and you'll be fine, bud.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's going to happen soon. Like, we have Gold and Guardians this weekend, so I feel like that's like a prime time to put him on Jace or Renekton or Aatrox or something.
Yeah.
So I guess let's briefly run through this week's games because it is somewhat of a tough schedule.
Yeah, Friday. Oh, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're fine.
Okay, well, Friday the 26th, we have Golden Guardians at 6 p.m. Eastern. Saturday, we have Evil Geniuses at 5 p.m. Eastern. And then Sunday, we have 100 Thieves at 5 p.m. Eastern. And I mean, I don't think we have to talk about the Golden Guardians match. We're going to win that game. I don't think that they're going to beat us at all. That's going to be slam dunk. I don't know if we can beat 100 Evil Geniuses.
We should beat them, but or they've been our bogey team so far this year. Though we've only played them twice, so it's not like.
I mean, we played them twice in best of ones, and we've kind of lost them both times. It seems like Evil Geniuses just how they play counters how we play so well that it's really tough for us to, I think, to get in a good, a good point for us to do anything. I think we'd have to, like you have to get Jizuke and Impact off Comfort Champions. Like, take away Ryze, Echo, and LeBlanc, and Jizuke becomes such an easier mid laner to play against. And I don't know why we didn't do that. I think last time we played him, an Impact. Don't give him Renekton. Don't give him any power picks either. I think if you simply ban out a bunch of top and mid lane picks, we have probably a much easier time to go on.
I think we should win this game just because I think that we're a better team. But I feel like Evil Geniuses has given us their best shot each time, and that they're not actually really all that good. But
I think with Impact they have. I think that with Impact they have actually become such a stronger team because Impact
been good.
Impact is a really smart player, and he can help Evil Geniuses with more of the strategic front and playing top lane, especially with tanks. Impact is really good at playing Shen and tanks and bruisers, and he's able to do what Impact does top lane. So, since Svenskeren doesn't have to worry about babysitting top lane, he can actually help mid lane and bot get more ahead and actually focus on more important like neutral objectives.
Yeah, and I like their team. I just think that we should be better because I think Perks, Sven, and Vulcan and Blabber are that much better than their counterparts.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see. Hopefully, they at least by now they at least have enough film to watch that they can figure out some sort of counter strategy, but I think it's going to be a really tough one. Sunday, February 28th against 100 Thieves. I think we could beat 100 Thieves. I think that's
I think we should.
I think that's not too far out of the realm of possibility. They've been really strong. They are, I believe they're second place in the standings.
Yeah, tied for second.
Yeah. But I think we should be able to beat them. I think how we play gives us more of an advantage over 100 Thieves. I will say that they're, Golden Guardians core of closer DeMonte and I forgot the other one. I keep forgetting FBI. Yes, I keep forgetting FBI. And FBI and Huhi. They've all really come together to be a much stronger squad than they have individually. But I think that we have enough firepower that we can just overwhelm them. As long as we don't go too crazy in the draft and just give us, just give us some really solid picks that everyone can kind of work with without having to risk anything too great. We should beat 100 Thieves.
Yeah, and 100 Talk, the 100 Thieves podcast. Our friends over there asked if we wanted to do a friendly wager on the Sunday's game, and I asked if they wanted to do a charity bet, and I haven't heard back yet. So I'm disappointed in them. So I might have to hop into a stream and call them out because I think they're scared.
Oh no. Well, hopefully we can at least have a pretty strong weekend. The team is doing really good right now. Even though we lost the Team Liquid, we are first in the standings. So I think that's in a really good spot. We're tied. Oh wait, no, that's Academy. We're sitting top of the standings, 7-2
in both. In both leagues.
Yeah, in both leagues. I think that we should continue sort of our trend to beating most of the teams and making slight adjustments to the teams that we lose to. And I think we should be able to do good for the rest of the season. We just have to look out for one or two teams that we seem to just consistently lose to.
Yeah, and I feel like this is a good weekend for redemption against evil geniuses, because if we don't, then we're gonna find ourselves climbing down on the standings and probably finding our way tied in first place.
Yeah. Hopefully we can just continue the trend. I have nothing. Do you want to go on to the next topic?
Yeah. We can run it relatively quickly.
All right. Well, but I don't know if you've been living under a rock, Frozen, but there's been a lot of talk about the there's been a lot of talk about the import rule and team owners wanting to dissolve that. There's been a lot of discourse on it, and it's been really interesting. Most fans are it's actually very similar to the London Spitfire situation that we had. And how like people didn't like that, like, oh, there's all these, there's get your imports out of my league or whatever. I actually was kind of following this whole kind of discourse of how people are talking, and I did some research actually, and I wanted to get some data on the makeup of each sort of major region, and I wanted to see like exactly what they look like now. So I looked at LCK, LPL, and EU, and LCS. LCK 100% Korean, no imports at all. The second, I guess, most regionally homogenous area is the LEC. At 94% EU players, there's 6% in sort of an other category where there's like one CIS player. I think CIS is dissolved, but I still counted like dissolved regions, considering that like if they hadn't dissolved, they'd still be considered imports. So it's like they have like one CIS player, one player from Turkey, and then one from Korea. So it's like 6% only. you go to the LPL and there's 82%, Chinese players. They also have like twice as many players listed as on starting rosters than like us, but 82% is from the LPL, 13% is from Korea, and then only like 5% would be from the the LMS region. And then I went over to our region, and interestingly enough, only half, that's 50% of the LCS is made up of NA players. 22% is EU, 10% is from OCE, 8% is from sort of like other regions, like Latin America, South, and we have Turkey.
Kyoto,
yeah. And we have Sword Art from the LMS. And then we have 10% as Korean players. So people are talking about like imports, and that they don't want like they don't want like an imported league. We're already like an imported league. Only like half of our player base is from North America. I think that would it really hurt if we had more imports at this point? Like, I don't know. I think it really just comes down to mostly money. It's a pay to win game, baby. And if you want to win, sometimes that means just getting a 5-man team of like the best Europeans or Koreans or whoever, whoever's the best that your money can buy, and then you put them on your team and then you tell them to win. We did that in Overwatch League, and people are all upset until you win a championship, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, yeah, we won, can't wait for next season. Yeah, I think a lot of it is just people complaining and whining for kind of a silly reason.
So I have a lot of different thoughts about it. I think the way that we do our regioning now, with like Impact coming in and getting his status as an NA player and stuff, I feel like it works out pretty well because like Impact is now a North American player, even though he's from Korea. Jensen's entire competitive career and Bjergsen's almost is here, and like someday, while he was formerly like arguably the best player in the world for a split, bless you.
Thanks, sorry.
He's now like an NA player. So like I feel like quote unquote paying your dues for a year or two until you get your residency status isn't a bad way to do it, because then like you are introduced to like the fans in the scene, and they can come up with like their own top die memes or their lol Zonias.
Like they can like slowly get attached to you, and then after a while it's fine and no one cares.
Yeah, and honestly, I think 95% of the reason that owners are pushing for this is for financial reasons.
It's definitely for the player salaries have gotten so exponentially like inflated that they can no longer probably afford a lot of the salaries, and they need to figure out a way to alleviate pressure. And I think it's if they have no more import rules, there's no longer like this whole like, oh, well, you need me for an import slot and I can kind of really leverage that to make you pay more for me. If that's gone, then it's like, okay, well, we don't need you. We can just get whoever who's less expensive and can probably do your job just the same. So it's definitely mostly a monetary issue.
Or yeah, and I think that's like 95% of it, and that the reason that the owners have been pushing for it is so they can open up the pool of players and pay imports a lot less than what they would pay for an NA player like RJS or Niles. Yeah, Finn's the import. and such like that. And I feel like the way they've gone about it has been incredibly insincere and kind of a joke. Like Jack calling someone racist onto the subreddit, or Reggie going full Kanye on Twitter, which was an absolute joke.
No, no one handled this situation well
No,
at
and
all.
I I don't know what would happen if they lifted the rule. I don't know if viewership would go up and down, and I don't think that anyone saying they do know would or is correct. Um, they just have like a hunch and based off their own experiences and people that they talk to. So I don't uh, know if LCS would be more popular if they imported Damwon or something, and if more people would watch that as opposed to watching a game between Gold and Guardians in CLG now. So I don't know. I feel like this would be a really good time for the Players Association to
To actually do something.
grow some balls for once. And like I feel like if they were going to import or change the import rule, that there are a lot of good things that could also come out of it. One thing I've wanted for a while is just more teams.
Yeah, I think that yeah, I can't speak for viewership or whatever. I think that a lot of it will probably come down to asking fans, what do you care about more? International parity and having an actual chance to win a world championship for a region that is not LCK or LPL, and having some variety in your international competition, and maybe having NA for once actually, win and go higher than that one time that we went to semis? Or do you want a more, more competitive, just domestic scene that features more, actual regional talent, and we just completely get blown out of the water internationally? I think that's what it's going to come down to from a fan's perspective. I think that, do they care at all about the international scene and if we can be competitive or not? I personally, I kind of want us to be more internationally competitive. I really like League of Legends, and I'd actually like it if we had a competitive region rather than just a region that usually, we have maybe one get out of groups, but sometimes it's like two, maybe three, all three teams would just not get out of groups. Cloud9 was consistent in that until last year when they didn't go. And, it's just, I think G2 is the only team for the past like 3 years that were consistently from EU made it to semifinals. Does anyone from EU get bored seeing G2 be the only team from your region go to semis every year? Do you not want to see like other teams be good enough to go to semis? I feel like that's also a problem just from the EU. It's like every year the finals, it's usually G2 and someone else. Aren't you bored with that? Don't you want other teams from EU to get stronger so they can have someone else just have a trophy that's not G2 or Fnatic? I think that it's a very tangled issue. I think from a fan's perspective, I think it all just comes down to how entertained are you currently with how things are, and if that changed to this new no import rule and it opened up more possibilities for things to be more varied and different, how exciting would that be for you? I think that's what it's going to come down to for fans. From the org perspective, it's going to come down to money. Jack had an interesting point actually, where he said that they should take away the rule, but they should also make orgs more, they should really pressure orgs more and force them more to be more involved in the academy and the amateur scene, to really try and grow more talent.
I think that it was a bullshit talking point. Uh, I don't think that he he would actually fight for that if that was actually an issue, because it costs money for people to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he
I
may
think
do
it's
it just because
insincere.
he's at least more sincere about trying to develop talent, and C9 has always been like an objective of C9.
I think he does it because it makes them money, and I think it's an insincere thing to get more points for taking away the rule. I don't think that if it came down to it that he would actually fight for that to happen.
I
He
mean,
only
that's fair. I mean,
he only would for PR
no,
reasons.
I mean that's fair. Like at the end of the day, this is all just businesses fighting each other for business things. People are upset about it, but it's businesses. That's all it is. It's not like they're you're it's like it's not like your job or anything. It's just you're watching paid employees play for a business to try to beat another business. So that's what it comes down to. I think, at least personally, I mean, I'm still going to watch even if they take away the import rule. I think people that aren't, I think they're taking it a little too seriously. If it means that we get better League of Legends and we get more competition internally and externally, I'm kind of excited. I don't really care. I know a lot of people are heated on this topic, but that's just my feelings on it.
I think if you really want to really good dive into it, I think Hotline League did a good job this week talking about it. I think Travis, well, I don't always agree with him. I think that his intuition about the topic is incredibly good and deep. He talked a lot about like sponsorships and how LCS is selling that they're like this Premier League, but they always get shit stomped at Worlds.
Yeah, definitely
But
not a
like,
good look.
and I don't really like the dive all that much, although I
I know the
listen to it
dive. I
every
heard
week.
uh, they had a very good discussion on it.
Yeah, and I don't really like the dive that much, although I listen to it every week because I'm an addict. But I do think that they also made some good points to keep the rule in place, like the time that Cloud9 went to Worlds semis, like that was like our North America is going to fight for us, as opposed to the like paid by Steve's team of imports going to Worlds. Like that's a less of a highlight as a NA fan than what it would be in a world where we didn't have like a region locking, or
Yeah.
like CLG's a run to MSI finals with who he playing out of his fucking mind mid lane on Aurelion Soul. uh and like Avramu playing Sona and shit. Like that was, I'm not a CLG fan, and but that was one of like the cooler league experiences, because they're like our North America, and like same with the world's semis team. Like if it was a different team, I'd probably be cheering against them. But like since it was Cloud9 and Zazel and Sneaky and Licorice and Jensen was on that team, right?
Um.
I think he was.
Yeah, he was. I think that was his last year on
And
C9.
Svenskeren,
Yeah, his Blabber subbed in. It was
Swolbro's year.
yeah, that was the Swolblers year. So it was like
Swolbros and
heck, it
Smolbros.
was Licorice, Svenskeren, Jensen, Sneaky, and then Zazel.
And
And
then and then Golden Glue couldn't be registered
yeah, he couldn't be a sub, so it
Worlds.
was only
Yeah.
Blabber was the sub.
Yeah, so that was like the hypest moment. And I think by taking away a region locking, like that would take away some of that hype. And I The last point I'll mention about it is I think like even if you import like Damwon from last year or Suning or
Whoever.
Top Esports on to 65 ping, like it's not gonna be like this incredible revelation, and they're going to go on and win worlds. Like I I I I I think the NA ecosystem has a lot of issues with it that aren't solved by importing talent, and that it's just like a player base issue that if we had twice as many players, like we could have like an East and West server where like China has like 12 servers and Europe has like 3 or 4. Yeah, because their player base is so much bigger.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely. I was gonna say like there if another thing that the London Spitfire has taught us is that even you could get the best team, but then they could not work together, and then they still may not be successful.
Yeah, so it is a complicated topic, and like I'm not as passionate about it as some others, and I'm not even sure the league would really change that much. Like there would probably be more imports, but I think the teams that want to spend on players already do that, and like the teams that don't want to spend as much are just gonna do that too. Like there's gonna be more imports, but like Cloud9 is probably gonna still be Blabber and Vulcan plus insert your mid ADC and top player here.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I don't know. I would just like to see more teams, and I think that this is a way to do that.
I know. Monty said that one way around it would be to just create a more global league and make like a global league that's above all the regional leagues. Make it a global league, no import limit. Have like 20 teams and they all play each other, and that would kind of be a good middle ground. You know, keep the regions kind of region locked, and that would be. It seems like at least a good middle ground. I don't know how they would do it. You know, there's a lot of ways that you can skin the cat, and there's a lot of ways that you can kind of go about it. You know, we don't really know what's probably going to happen until probably the end of the year when Riot announces like what they're going to do for next year. But we'll probably talk about it again then.
Yeah. I think that increasing our teams is just a better way to
yeah, I think
do
expanding
it.
the league would be a good
Like get
choice also.
Rick Fox back, and I'm sure there's a few other owners.
I'm not sure if Optic can come back. Are they poor again?
Optic, Echo Fox. There's tons of people. I'm sure who would be into throwing down a team. Like it's, but I don't know. It is
Yeah,
tough. That's just a one solution I've thought of.
yeah.
So
There's a lot. I can't think of anything else without the risk of making this run any longer than it has to.
yeah. So Cloud930. Fuck 100 Thieves.
Jeez. All right. Well, thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us at C9 Bodied, and we'll see you next time.
See you next week, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.